welcome to this Christmas edition of Cardiff Sports Central with me, Joe Rowland, your host. Tonight we're looking back on Medics Varsity, held in Cardiff for the first time since it began only a year ago. I'm delighted to say I'm joined again by expert pundits Jamie Smith and Dan Hurd. We all braved the cold weather to watch both sets of Medics perform. How did you two enjoy the day as a whole?
It's a very interesting day. My first Medics Varsity, a really good experience to be down there seeing all the teams doing so well. You know, another great day out for Cardiff University Sports. A great experience.
Yeah, it was, as you said, it was very cold.
It certainly was.
But it was interesting to see all the teams playing. Like I haven't seen the Medics teams play before as well. So, and there was a really high level of quality as well. So it was really good to see.
So let's take a look at what's coming up on the show. First up, we're focusing on basketball, where Cardiff University were looking to continue their dominance over the Bristol Medics. Let's have a look at how both sides fared. As you can see, Cardiff came out on top in that game with a resounding victory, 51-29. So Dan, what did you think of the day?
It was a really interesting day. The basketball was great to see. You know, the fact that both mixed teams was very interesting. I believe they're the only mixed team event in the whole of the Medics Varsity, which was interesting. That they fought for every ball. They were really competitive, really dominant. In fact, Cardiff at times, of course, the scoreline reflected that. So it was a great event.
Yeah, like you said, complete domination. Pretty simple ride, really, in the end. I don't think the two teams played each other in the competition last year. So obviously it'll be interesting to see how they get on over the next few years and whether that will be tighter in terms of the scoreline. But pretty much an easy job in the end for Cardiff, and good start to the day, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to have the greatest knowledge in basketball, but it certainly sends out a great message having the mixed genders in one team. Certainly, I'm sure maybe something they'll look at in the future for wider sports.
It was a very interesting thing to see, and you could see how Cardiff asserted their dominance very early on. The 51-29 scoreline obviously flatters them, but they were really good.
They were, and I mean, I was there as well, and yeah, they showed no signs of letting up. No. 51-29 is a resounding victory, and one that they can all be proud of. And they were obviously carrying on from the men's and women's hockey's victory earlier on in the day, which you'll see clips of later on in the show. But for now, let's move on to netball. We were there again, but luckily inside, not braving the cold. So let's have a look at the clips from the game.
Maybe I'm not listening. So baby, I'm waiting.
Another impressive performance from a Cardiff Uni side, which at this point there have been no complaints from anyone inside the university, continuing their dominance over the Bristol Medics. Dan, what did you think of the netball?
It was, again, a really great game following on from the previous two we'd watched. That 28-22 victory, it was very, very close, but again, Cardiff played very well as they had done in previous sports. They really gave it their all. They were dominant for large parts of it, and like I said, the scoring was very, very close, but all in all, a very good game.
Yeah, I spoke to Sam Parsons, the AU president, and he was at the game. He said it was one of the sort of tightest encounters throughout the day. So that's obviously a good sign, because obviously we're talking about Cardiff's domination, and it almost suggests that it was a walkover. But when you actually look at the games individually and the actual score lines, you know, the netball's just a prime example that the games are actually quite tight and competitive, which is obviously good for the competition as a whole and can only help it in its popularity. So it was obviously a great win for Cardiff, but also for the whole competition as a whole.
We were there obviously for about 10 minutes watching the netball, and while we were there, Bristol didn't seem to score any points at all, which again just like continued the trend of Cardiff's domination throughout the day. And I want to say a massive thank you to Sam Parsons for all his help on the day in the organisation of the event and with CUTV as well.
It was Sam's birthday as well, so
yeah, great day for him.
Yeah.
It really was. But we'll move on to our next sport now, football down at Clanrumney. Of course, Jamie, you really did brave the cold here.
I did.
You were there to watch the Medics team in action. What do you think of the game?
Yeah, no, it was a good game actually. By the time the game came to an end, I couldn't really tweet anymore.
Yeah,
I was supposed to be doing because my hands were so cold. But no, the football made up for it. It was a really tight game actually in the end. You were there when Bristol opened the scoring. Keeper made a bit of a hash of it, unfortunately.
Bounced off his chest, didn't it? Very unlucky.
The free kick came over and sort of bounced in between his defence and himself, and bounced off his chest straight into the path of the Bristol attacker, and fair play, they capitalised on it, pounced on the ball and put it away. But after that, I mean, you left after that, but Cardiff really came into the game. They really took the game to Bristol and had a few chances. They were very successful down the right-hand channel. A lot of their moves on the attack came from that side, and a guy called Oscar as well, who was about in the middle, really pacey, turned players so easily. Yeah. Very, very talented player, and he really again offered them some flair and creativity in the middle. And
from his hard work, you could see Declo was going to come any minute, wasn't it?
Definitely, yeah. They really pressed in that towards the end of the first half, and eventually the goal came. It was the right winger who had been arguably their most sort of industrious player throughout the whole game, and he got past a few players on the right-hand channel as he'd been doing all game, and struck a really well-drilled effort into the bottom corner of the goal and equalised. And the second half was a lot tighter. I mean, a lot of the ball was contested in the middle of the park. Chances were very few, particularly for Bristol. Cardiff had a few openings, but nothing too clear cut.
Cardiff's right wing was very impressive throughout the game, wasn't he? In the second half, he came into his own.
He was brilliant. I think he went off injured towards the end, but he was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Just beat players with ease, and you just knew as soon as he got the ball,
there was
a chance of creating something. And he did create a few more chances in the second half, but it didn't come to anything, unfortunately. And then it was down to penalties, and it had gone to penalties last year as well, and Cardiff had won that narrowly. So that was interesting to go to that again.
Good omens going into that, obviously, but no, it's a thrilling shootout, wasn't it?
It was. Cardiff scored all of their penalties. Bristol missed a couple, just didn't have the same composure, unfortunately.
And finished 4-3 in the end, wasn't it?
4-3 in the end, yeah.
Whichever goalkeeper, stepped up and performed better. Oh.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure as well because of how all the sports had gone. The rugby had finished, and all the rugby lads, they came over to watch the shootout. So there was a lot of pressure,
support, which is great.
And they delivered in the end. So full credit to them.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the closest game of the day. But of course, we were there. We were filming. time to break away from University Sport now. At the end of November, we travelled down to Chapter Arts Centre to interview Mr. Calzaghe director Vaughan Civil. Our very own Dan Hurd took on the interview. What did you think of Vaughan?
A very, very interesting guy. Yeah, he was, really involved in the film from the very start. He was, he got to know Joe and Enzo very well throughout the process, and it was a fantastic interview to conduct. It was really in depth, really incisive, and a great experience.
It really was, and credit to BAFTA and Chapter Arts for letting us use their venue for the interview. And here is a shortened down version of the interview. You'll be able to catch the full one on our YouTube channel, Cardiff Union TV.
What would your message be to anyone who's going to go and see the film and perhaps any sceptic out there just to label it as a boxing film or a sports film? What would you say to them?
Well, I honestly would say that one of the things that we've been most pleased about is that it's playing really well to women and girls.
Excellent.
And at the heart of it, it is, as I say, it's the most unlikely, heartwarming heist movie about what it takes to have the determination and the talent to achieve what Joe achieved, but totally driven by the one core relationship, which is with his father and with his family. And at times it's heartbreaking, but it's amazing, very uplifting film, and I think it's inspirational for anyone.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your time, Vaughan.
Moving on to our final sport of the day, the big one, the rugby. Of course, our Medics side is known for being very strong, and they showed their dominance on the day. And here are the highlights from the game. So as you can see, Cardiff managed to maintain their 100% record for the day, coming out as 51-0 winners over the Bristol Medics side. Boys, what did you think of the game?
Well, it wasn't obviously a very evenly contested game from the scoreline. Cardiff were absolutely dominant again, as they had been all through the day. There was some great rugby played. They really got stuck in, really, rose to the occasion of the event, and it was great to see.
Yeah, there's not really much you can say really. I think the scoreline tells you everything. But I was speaking to Sam Parsons, as I mentioned before, and he mentioned Ed Green, who received the overall sort of player of the day for the whole competition. And he's a prop, but apparently found himself on the wing quite a few times in rugby and scored a couple of tries. So a very, very impressive day for him.
That says something when you're able to put a prop on the wing, doesn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Then again, who didn't really score in that game? I'm sure everyone had a chance.
Exactly.
And of course, there were a lot of fans supporting this game. Obviously, big attraction, the rugby on the day. But what did you think of the popularity of the event as a whole? I know Sam Parsons was obviously pretty happy with it, and he wants it to grow over the next few years to maybe even rival Varsity.
Yeah.
Whether it can achieve that or not, I don't know. But what do you think?
Well, it's interesting. It's only the second year that the Medics Varsity has been going on, and like I say, it was my first one. It's a really good experience. But if it could grow, it has potential there, like Sam says, to become as big, if not bigger, than the actual Varsity, because it was very, very hardly contested games. The players gave their all, as they would in the actual Varsity, and it was a great experience and a great day. So I can see it growing from there.
Yeah. Again, I saw quite a lot of spectators there cheering them on. I mean, it was very cold, and I think one of the key things for Medics Varsity, if it is going to ever parallel the sort of popularity and success of the Welsh Varsity, is for the competition to be a little bit tighter. Obviously, the fact that Cardiff whitewashed Bristol again is fantastic for the university and says a lot about the success of their teams. But for the sport and for the competition as a whole, we could do with perhaps Bristol winning a few of the competitions as well. And
Yeah.
I mean, the games were tight. You know, we talked about the football. That was really tight.
The
Penalties
men's squash
again.
as well.
The men's squash.
Bristol were 3 up in that before the comeback.
Exactly. The netball was close, and you know, you talk about the football and the penalties. That could have gone either way.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it could be down to the rivalry, because the old Cardiff-Swansea rivalry is a very fierce one. It goes back years, not just in university sport, but in sport in general and in culture in general. So if that was to grow between Cardiff and Bristol, then it really could improve from there.
I think maybe one thing holding it back as well would be the timing of the event. During winter, a lot of people aren't really looking to get out. I mean, we were there. We enjoyed the day, but we were clearly very, very reluctant in the cold weather. So yeah, I mean, if they really want to grow the event, they're probably going to need to change the date of the event.
Yeah, because November's a deadline month as well, isn't it? A lot of people have assignments due in, and so it's not ideal, and people don't want to go out in the cold, do they?
Having said that, Bristol and Cardiff really, really performed very well. It's just a tough time for, I'm sure, university students in general.
They did, and you could tell they were up for it. And obviously, at each sport, there was like a minority group of fans for each side. I know at basketball and netball, there were a lot of cheering, especially when Bristol scored. Turned out to be a rarity on the day. But yeah, I mean, there's promise there for the event to grow, and I'm sure we'll see it grow in the next few years.
It's obviously going to take time. You know, the Welsh Varsity's been going on for a considerably longer amount of time. So
and held in massive venues like the Liberty Stadium, the Millennium Stadium, and so on in Cardiff and Swansea. So like they say, the opportunity is there for it to grow, but it may take some time.
Boys, I have to say a massive thank you again for helping me out on the show today. And thank you, as always, for your invaluable insight into the university sports. You were the best of the action from a fantastic day for Cardiff University Medics. All of us from CUTV would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and good luck in your exams. Until next time, that's it from us. We'll see you in January.
Baby, baby.